Good evening to Year 8 and to parents. My name is Mr. Green. I'm the head of media. I'm also the head of sixth form. And it's my pleasure to talk to you this evening about what we do in media here at Sir Christopher Hatton Academy. So, a question I get asked a lot, especially by Year 8 students who obviously have never studied the media, is what exactly is media? They see it written down on their option forms and they think, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But what actually is it? Okay, so it probably is what you think it is. It's all of these things. So, television, newspapers, magazines, film, music, advertising, social media and gaming, and radio. And we study all of these different parts of the media. And I'm going to talk to you in a little bit more detail about that in just a moment and exactly what that looks like. So at Hatton, we follow the AQA specification. AQA is the most popular exam board for this particular qualification in the country. It's always given us good results, and we know what we're doing with AQA. We also think it gives you a nice range of products to study, which I'll show you a little bit more about in just a second. When you're studying GCSE media, guys, every single thing that we look at is based in sort of 4 key areas. Okay, so there's media language. That's the terminology we use when we're analysing the media, but also media language is how media products talk to us. So, for example, how a newspaper makes sense to us or how a magazine communicates meaning to us as an audience. The second thing we look at is media representations. That's how, again, events and people and issues are represented in the media and how we are interpreting them. The third thing we look at is media industries. They're the companies that provide us with those media products. And the last thing that we study is media audiences. Okay, so that's who a product is aimed at and how it's aimed at that particular media audience. And I'll explain that all in a little bit more in just a moment. Okay, so a moment ago, I spoke to you about all the different areas of the media that we'll be studying. Now, within each area of the media, guys, we look at 2 different products, okay? And quite often, they're contrasting products. So one might be present day and one might be from the past, okay? Or one might be from one political point of view and the other from another, okay? We call these CSPs. That's short for close study products. Okay, we look at each of these in depth over the 2 years. So obviously it's all there for you to have a little look at, but I'll just pick a few out for you. So for example, my year 10s at the moment, we're looking at social media and gaming. Okay, so we started off looking at YouTubers and we looked specifically at Zoella. That will change by the time you come to do GCSE media, but it will still be looking at YouTube and the rise of YouTube and how YouTubers market themselves. We also are looking at the moment at Kim Kardashian, Hollywood, which is a mobile game, and we're looking at Lara Croft Go and a little bit of the history of gaming. Okay, another one that they did recently was they did the advertising CSPs. So they looked at Galaxy, which is a modern day advert. They looked at NHS Represent, which is also a modern day advert, but done like a music video. And also Omo, which was a washing powder from the 1950s. And the point of that is it was showing you how it represents people back then, how women were shown, how men were shown, and then comparing it to the present day. So as I say, for each different area, there's 2 contrasting products that we study. So I'll let you just have a little read of those. Some of them you won't have heard of, but they are all really, really interesting. And once you get into studying them, it's quite fascinating, especially when you compare one with an older one. Okay, so what am I working towards then when I do GCSE media? Well, 2 exams that you'll sit at the end of year 11. Okay, so I won't go into too many details there because it's on screen for you, but just to let you know that both of the exams are 1 hour and 30 minutes long, and they're both worth 84 marks, and they're both worth 35% of your GCSE. Each paper will test you on slightly different things, but you will learn that as you go through the course, and we make it very, very clear what's going to appear in each paper. Here's a little bit of information about the second paper then. So as I said before, it's the same amount of time, it's worth the same number of marks and the same weighting in terms of your percentage of your GCSE grade. The only key difference really, and of note, is that section A is based on a screening from an extract. So basically you will have studied some television close study products. You'll be shown a short extract from one of those shows, and then you'll be asked a question based on the extract that you've just watched. So that bit is a bit unusual because it's almost like a live exam. The third part of the course, guys, is your NEA, and that's called a non-examined assessment, and that's basically a posh way of saying coursework. Okay, and this is the bit that students really like. It's worth 30%, so just under a third, and that's where you get to create your own media product. Okay, so this is where you'll plan and then make your own media product. So for example, in the past we've had students making their own music video, we've had students making their own advert, we've had students making their own design for a web app. So there's lots of different possibilities. Each year AQA sets out 5 possibilities and we choose one for you, and it does change every year. So it will be something along those lines, and what you guys will need to produce is a statement of intent, which is basically what I'm going to do, and then you have to make the product for a specific audience. Okay, obviously if you choose to study media, we'll guide you through that and you'll find out more as you go along. You may be wondering, what does a typical lesson in media look like? So what I've got here is a fairly typical example of an exercise that my current year 10s are doing. So as I said before, they're studying social media and gaming, and we were looking at the role of PEGI, which you might know are the group of people who decide on the age ratings of games. And what I did was I asked the students to sit in the role of someone on the PEGI rating agency and to give some ratings to games. And the idea is it gave them some time to think about what should or shouldn't be in games, gave them a bit of time to think about things like censorship, and also it gave them an opportunity to think about the audience and what's appropriate for different audiences. Okay, so that if you go back to what I talked about before, this was looking at media language and media audiences. In terms of assessments then, we do lots of different types of assessments. So sometimes they will be creative, like the one on screen. So we won't always ask you to do lots of writing. Sometimes we might ask you to do a drawing sometimes, and as often as we can, we'll give you the option. Assessments might also look like this. So sometimes it will be written, as I said before, and we don't hide from the fact that we will ask you and we will expect you to do a reasonable amount of writing from time to time, because it's an academic subject. And it will involve a fair level of analysis. So what skills or qualities do you need to be a good media student then? Well, I would say that successful media students need to be curious about the world around them, be able to think critically, and should be willing to look beyond the obvious. So you should want to question things a little bit. And a good media student is interested in how the media helps to shape society and how we perceive our world. So you need to be very aware of what's going on in the media and what's happening around us and how it shapes our everyday lives. So some student feedback on media then. I asked my year 11s for some feedback, and this is what they came up with. So I've loved every minute of the media course. I get quite bored studying the same things over and over, but I enjoy media because we get to study so many different parts of the media. It keeps it interesting. What I like about media is that it has given us the opportunity to analyse and also talk about what's going on in the world and how the media helps shape the way we think. I didn't think I would, but I really enjoyed learning about the history of the media and looking at how major events like feminism have created the society we live in today. So there's just some comments I asked for my year 11 students for some feedback, and I thought those 3 sort of summed up what we do in media quite nicely. So where can GCSE media take you then? Well, in terms of careers, obviously the media industry is one of the fastest growing on the planet. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Media is huge. So the careers listed there are all potential opportunities available to any GCSE student in the future. So frequently asked questions then. So do we get to watch lots of films in media? No, that's a bit of a misconception. We look at lots of audio-visual clips over the 2 years. I often use them for teaching purposes. We will get very good at analysing scenes from films. We do a unit on film promotion in the media, and we look at the comparisons between blockbuster films and independent films. However, we don't get to watch lots of films. All right, there's too much to do. There's not enough time to do that. So I'm saying that because I want to be completely honest with you. Is there a lot of essay writing in media? I did allude to this earlier on. Obviously, it's an academic and analytical subject, so there will be times when you have to write a reasonable amount. Obviously, it's a written exam as well, so it would only be right that we prepare you to be able to answer questions in depth when it comes to the final exam. In our experience, though, our students generally really enjoy writing in depth about the close study products that they have been looking at. So it's not always the same as doing an essay on something like a book or a poem. If you're writing an essay about, say, a game or a music video, it tends to be that our students are a little bit more engaged with that sort of thing. So therefore, they quite enjoy writing about them. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. I really hope that you're interested in studying media with me. I'm sure we'll have a great time if you choose it. If you're not sure or you have any extra questions you'd like to ask, then please, by all means, get in touch with me. So just a reminder that my name is Mr. Green. You can contact me on greenj1@hattonacademy.org.uk, and whatever options you choose, best of luck with them. Thank you for listening.